An appearance on this platform is not necessarily an endorsement, but as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another technically challenged episode of Red Pill News Live. So there was an update to my computer earlier today. There was also an update to my sound studio program, and didn't know this at the time until we went live, and then I wasn't getting any of the audio myself that you couldn't get, and then I made it so you couldn't hear it. But there is also an update to my soundboard. So we're going to wait a few minutes until the intro is done, and then I am going to update that soundboard very quickly. So we're going to have some sort of intermission. But, oh, this is the wrong thumbnail. Jeez, pizza. I am a mess today, you guys. This is the correct thumbnail. Let me just get that up, because wouldn't you know it? Tulsi Gabbard and the Director of National Intelligence, the entire agency, has declassified many different documents related to the Ukraine impeachment from President Trump's first term in office. And this documentation proves conclusively many things that I think all of us were pretty much well aware of. But in order to have it proven as part of the grand conspiracy, well, of course, you've got to have the documentation to prove it. As I've told you on many occasions, Tulsi Gabbard, by my estimations, is the MVP of Trump 2.0, and I am extremely excited about the work she is doing. So I'll have several people I need to say thank you to, mention that had a great time at GART this weekend. For those of you who didn't get to go, you can still go check everything on the virtual stream. So do me a favor, sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn, and we're going to get into it right about now. All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I need to actually figure this out before we get too deep into the show, because there is a whole bunch of stuff that I'm planning on hearing myself when I play it for you. It worked prior to going live. Only after I went live did it no longer work. That is so frustrating. All right, before we get into that, I need to do a big announcement. Thank you very much to the sponsor of the program. That's going to be our friends at mybrightcore.com/redpill. Maria Moreira, as I've told you guys before, was a woman born in 1907. At this time, you still had horses that were sharing the streets with cars, primitive cars, especially compared to today. But Maria lived through two world wars, the Spanish Civil War, also the rise of the internet. She saw the entire world change right before her eyes. And when she finally passed away in August 2024, at 117 years old. At that time, she was the oldest person on planet Earth. Now, after her death, researchers examined, and they found something remarkable. Her gut microbiome was remarkably diverse in beneficial bacteria. And when scientists studied other similar people, they found a couple of different patterns. First of all, greater microbial diversity and stronger gut balance. These two things that are traits linked to immune health, heart health, and even brain health. And your gut microbiome isn't just about digestion. It reflects how well your body adapts and functions over time. When your gut stays diverse and supported, you gain strength instead of losing it as the years begin to add up. And this is why Maria's story matters. Longevity isn't just a one miracle solution. It's about daily habits that nourish your internal environment. Consuming kimchi is one of the strongest and simplest ways you can help replenish beneficial bacteria and maintain that microbial balance. This is why Brightcore created Kimchi One, delivering the benefits of fermented kimchi in a convenient capsule form to help restore your gut's balance naturally every single day. And today, you guys can get 25% off when you order using the code REDPILL at the link below, or to get the best deals, you can call Brightcore directly at 888-383-5996. You can detoxify your body, rebuild your gut, and take your health into your own hands starting today. Once again, that number is 888-383-5996. The link below is mybrightcore.com/red pill. And thank you very much to Brightcore for sponsoring the program. All right, so now I'm going to have to update the firmware on my soundboard real quick because I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to hear anything today because that's the only thing that isn't working properly. So give me just a moment, you guys, and this is going to hopefully not take too long. It's going to download, and then it's going to have to reset, and there will be maybe 30 to 60 seconds where you won't be able to hear me say anything. Okay. Mr. Ed, what do I think about the story making the rounds that Roger Stone talked Trump into keeping Tulsi? I think it's entirely possible that Roger Stone spoke to President Trump and said there is an intelligence op to attempt to get you to fire Tulsi Gabbard, trying to convince Test, 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 test. All right, can everyone hear me? Yes, if you just came into the chat, you may not have caught that my soundboard needed to do an update, and so that's why you didn't hear any sound. I made sure to say it multiple times, but even people who are here perhaps didn't hear it. Okay, I now see that everybody can hear me in the chat. We're going to do a test. We're going to play a video. Well, first of all, let me just jump back to the intro song and make sure that I can hear that music. I still can't freaking hear it. What the heck is the problem? Okay. So I'm going to guess that you guys can probably hear that song. But for whatever reason, it's not playing for me. What is the problem? Yeah, monitor and output. Monitor off, that will turn it off for you guys. Monitor and mute output, that will turn it on for no one. And then that plays it for everyone. Okay, so you guys can hear the song. Why in the hell can I not hear my own music? Why can't I hear any of the sounds? Principled Enigma, my channel stopped working on Roku a couple of years ago, buddy. Because I had to pay for it and nobody was subscribing. So let us try one more thing. Okay, so let me add a new sound system. Let's try. I've already got the Rode chat in here. Let's do Rode Connect, Rode Unify Virtual. Let's try that. Let me see if I can hear that. OBS preferences, audio. Okay. Rode Connect Stream. That's totally incorrect. Okay. Gosh, what is the problem? And you guys can hear it again. God, I am so frustrated right now. Why could I hear it all day and then as soon as I go live, suddenly everything stops working? All right, well, I guess I've already seen the clips, so I'll have to just play it and call Ghost. Ghost isn't going to know. He doesn't have the same sound setup that I do. All right, well, let's just stop wasting time. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, first of all, that one of the viewers in the chat, our friend Sherry, she and her family has unfortunately, yeah, it's too late, Kev. I can't restart the PC now because the stream's already going. Yeah, it's not going to work. Why? Does Ghost have sound problems a lot? Because that's funny. Let's see. Okay, so take a look, you guys. Our friend Sherry, she and her family has unfortunately recently lost their home. And someone had put together a Give, Send, Go for her. And I know that not everybody will be in a position to help out. But if you can help out, I just wanted to make you aware that she is going through it right now. Her and her family are currently living in a broken down mobile home, it says, and it's really no place for her and her family. They need to do a couple of things to get it basically up to snuff. So I donated earlier today. If you guys have the ability to, or you feel moved to, then I am just going to send the link out there. And I will actually put this into a comment down below. So if you're watching not today at a different point, then you'll be able to see it. So please continue to keep Sherry in your prayers, whatever it is. If you're able to help out, great. If you can't help out, then just pray for her and her family. You know what else is so funny? I didn't even tell you guys this yet. I was going to. I hope that they're not watching today. Over the weekend, when I was flying back from Nashville last night, I had a chance to meet two young people who were sitting next to me. Sebastian, I think her name was Emily. They weren't together. They were both just flying back to Jacksonville. And I sat down, and Sebastian, immediately starts chatting me up, and he's like, hey, how you doing? And then he asked me what I do for a living, and I tell him, I'm a podcaster. And then we start talking, and neither of them were very political. They both seemed like, they were totally cool with President Trump and essentially, what was going on, changing America for the better, making America great again. And so we had an hour and a half conversation where I gave them a history lesson on the situation in Iran and then the assassination of President Kennedy, a whole bunch of different things. Anyways, at the end of the conversation, they were both like, oh, cool, I can't wait to check out your channel. So I hope they don't check it out today because everything is totally effed up with the sound. But normally, it's not like this. It totally works flawlessly. So if you guys are watching, then just know that by tomorrow, everything will be back to normal. Okay, They were trying to bang Zach? Well, I mean, they weren't trying to bang because they both had a boyfriend and a girlfriend that were not there, and they were the ones that were talking to me. So if they were trying to bang, then they were failing because instead of communicating with each other, they were chatting me up. Okay. I also have an announcement here, you guys. Do you remember several weeks ago, my friend Jim Wiley, the Republican candidate for Secretary of State in Colorado, well, he is now the official candidate for the Republican Party for Secretary of State in the state of Colorado. Over this weekend, the Assembly had their nominations process, and it's kind of complicated in Colorado. It's not just a straight primary where the public votes on who the competing candidates are going to be. There was a meeting of this assembly, and there were basically like 2,080 people or something like that that were set to vote. You had to be registered to. Honey, can you remove? Oh, I can do it. There we go. I can take it off my screen. They come together. They have to be registered as part of the party, and then they vote on who the candidates are. Now, there were a bunch of people running for governor, obviously a bunch of people running for Secretary of State, a bunch of different positions. And as long as you got a simple majority, then that moves you forward to become the candidate on the ballot in November. Well, Jim overwhelmingly was the person that the assembly voted for. He received greater than 70% of the total votes for the people who showed up. So let me play you this clip of him right here.
Well, we just got the news, and
I won. I completely dominated. I thought I would either win or dominate, and I did both. I got 70.55% of the vote. There's no other candidate on the ballot. Good job. We all won. This was an amazing success by our team. Every cent, every donor, every volunteer call made got us across that line. I want to thank all of my supporters for making this possible. You guys are incredible. Thank you.
Is it safe to say this was a clean sweep?
Clean sweep.
Clean
Swept, done.
Sweep.
Sparkly.
All right, let's head to the general. We're going to need all of you and more.
Thanks, team. Appreciate you.
So Jim Wiley, the Red Flame of Liberty, he has a real shot to become the Secretary of State if you live in Colorado, because a lot of people there are very frustrated with Jenna Griswold. And I should also let you guys know that I could definitely hear that. So for some reason, it seems to be OBS, a problem with OBS actually playing the audio for the music files that I have loaded up in the program. That's good to know. That's why I was not alerted to the problem earlier today. All right, so if you didn't know, a couple of weeks ago, I interviewed my friend Jim Wiley here. Jim Wiley, you guys, he was a part of the show, but you never met him before. But if you remember my friends Gary Fielder and the lawyers for the Dominion class action lawsuit, they used Jim as their legal attache, basically. He was assisting them in the case. And he was moved to get involved in politics in Colorado. So now he's the candidate for Secretary of State. So I wanted to give him a big congratulations. Now, what's really interesting is that after the votes were cast, it was discovered that there was extra votes. And remember, this is the Colorado gold standard. There was something like 80 plus additional votes. That means that either ballots were duplicated or there were people who showed up to vote who were not registered to vote in this assembly meeting right there. Now, I was looking for my notes on this, but Jim, he didn't have any knowledge of why this would have happened specifically, but a number of other people had taken a look into the situation, and they had some specific ideas. So let me tell you exactly what was said. All right, so I can take a look here, and we can see, that there was some 80 additional votes. Now, I mentioned that Jim got 70% of the people who showed up to vote. Those additional votes were not for him or the other positions, state treasurer, attorney general, U.S. Senate. For some reason, they only showed up in the gubernatorial candidates. So that means that the additional votes must have been somebody who was going to support one of these gubernatorial candidates. And it would appear that there was definitely some level of fraud that was taking place. You can't have more ballots than you have delegates, just like you can't have more ballots than you have registered voters. But for some reason, no, it wasn't electronic voting. It was a hand-marked paper ballot. It was a simple tally ballot. So that's why I say it must have been a duplication of some of those ballots, or it could have only been additional people showing up and casting ballots that were not part of the assembly. So we don't know, and I don't know if there's going to be an investigation or not, because the other candidates, looks like the candidate for governor is going to be, looks like it's going to be Scott Bottoms. I hear Scott Bottoms is a pretty good dude. State treasurer, it's going to be Kevin Grantham. Attorney General, that is going to be Michael Allen. And then for U.S. Senate, that's going to be Mark Baisley. So if you live in Colorado, look into those people and see if you're interested in voting for any of them. Undoubtedly, they're all going to be better than the current Democrat candidates that are in office. All right. Now, also in Colorado, recently, as a result of actions from Judicial Watch, the state of Colorado was forced to remove nearly 400,000 inactive voters from their voter rolls. This undoubtedly is going to have a major impact when we come to the general election in November. Now, the officials in Colorado have seen a significant increase in the number of inactive voter registrations. These are registrations of people who are on file but are not actively voting. Now, this legal dispute from Judicial Watch sought to remedy this problem after a lawsuit from the 2020 election. Now, at that time, Judicial Watch had stated that Colorado failed to properly maintain their voter registration list. This is the same problem that we see in virtually all states around the country, even ones that are run by Republicans, because of those 30 states that have been sued by the Attorney General, Harmeet Dillon, Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division. There among them are several Republican states as well, including Georgia. Now, when these voters are inactive and they remain on the voter rolls, it's clearly an opportunity for whomever is in charge of the registrations, whomever is in charge of the ballots, to activate them and then use them to cast a ballot in whatever race they want them to vote in. With Colorado not properly maintaining their voter registration lists, that means that they're in non-compliance with the Federal Voter Registration Act. So Judicial Watch said these outdated and ineligible registrations had, of course, inflated voter rolls in several counties. State officials disagree. They deny any sort of federal violation of law, but ultimately they agreed to settle the case all the way back in 2023. And along with that agreement, Colorado had committed to providing regular data on the maintenance they were doing on voter rolls, and they were supposed to be delivering it to Judicial Watch. Now, after figures were put out following the settlement, the number of voter registrations removed during list routine maintenance had jumped from about 172,000 to more than 300,000 in a given reporting period. And of course, Colorado Secretary of State is currently Jenna Griswold. Jenna Griswold, being an acolyte of the Open Society Foundation, has argued that the state had a sufficient system in place to keep these voter rolls up to date. But of course, if they did, then we wouldn't have the problem of hundreds of thousands of ineligible voters still remaining on the rolls. They claim, however, that their system typically involves individuals who have moved, died, or otherwise become ineligible. They ostensibly are checking for that stuff, but I think that it's quite obvious that that isn't really the case, because if it was, then it wouldn't be an issue. Now, I actually do need to say thank you to several people. First of all, Anarchist Owl, thank you very much. 5x5. CK Felt says, I really enjoyed meeting you at GART. It was great meeting you at GART as well. It was great meeting everybody. I had such a good time this weekend. Rave Daddy 523, we had so many great conversations as well. He said it was great to meet you at GART and talk. Thank you for all you do. Appreciate you, homie. Principled Enigma, again, your FYI, your channel on Roku is not working. Yeah, it stopped working a couple of years ago because the cost simply just didn't match up with the there wasn't enough money coming in to justify continue to paying it. Anarchist Owl says, I sent you a crazy Swalwell meme on X as in a DM. Okay, I'll go ahead and check it out. BDR1776 says, you were right as usual. Alex Jones has 0 cases from the DOJ, and he is still going on and on and on about some BS defamation lawsuit against him. That's his new way to make money. Awesome. That's what I thought, and I am glad that you had the opportunity to verify that. Okay, thank you, BDR. And then also Denise says, Zak, come on now. You know that there is absolutely no problem with Colorado elections. I mean, no proof has ever been exposed that would lead anyone to believe elections aren't legitimate. That's right. Colorado is the gold standard. That's why I always open with that. Dale Bercier drops a ship over on Pilled, and he says, I have also lost my home. If someone could start a donation site for me, I would be grateful. I just need short-term help. Dale, get with people on Pilled, and when you guys do that, I will happily share that over here as well. Thank you very much for the donation, buddy. Smot Poker says, good afternoon, Patriots. Darla says, thank you for holding the line for us, Zach, even though all the technical difficulties. Yeah, I hate it when it happens. Nothing worse than feeling like I don't have control over my own stream. And thank you, Moon Baby. What up, Famalam? And Trump One, thank you very much for the cookie. Again, if there's anybody over on Pilled who could help Dale out, that would be very, very helpful. Appreciate it. Okay, so Cordy says, can it be cleaned up before the midterms? It just was. This story was about those nearly 400,000 voters being removed from the voter rolls. If you've been following along for any length of time, you'll also know that Colorado is not the first state that Judicial Watch has successfully had these voters ineligible, inactive, removed. This has been happening all around the country for, the last year or so. I can't tell you how many of them I have reported on, but we also have the same thing happening within the Department of Justice at the Civil Rights Division. They've been working with these states to ensure that this same type of work happens. And many of those lawsuits in the states that were sued by the Department of Justice remain ongoing. And believe me, the ultimate dispensation and goal of those cases are to successfully have all of those voters removed. In addition to that, Scott Pressler has recently come out to say that in Pennsylvania, he himself and his group have specifically identified many illegal aliens that are currently sitting on the Pennsylvania voter rolls. And so he's recently come forward with that information. The story itself is rather scant. It's exactly what I've just presented for you. But he is currently in contact with Harmeet Dillon and the Department of Justice, and they're working on getting that alleviated right now as well. Also, I needed to say thank you to a fellow friend over there on Pill, Jessica, who was also at Garth this weekend. Thank you so much, Jessica. She said, I loved meeting you, Zach, from Unity. There we go. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Appreciated meeting you. It was a great time hanging out with you as well. All right. Now, we are, of course, going to talk about Eric Swalwell. Oh, Yasmin says, I can watch this on Roku if I want. It's on Rumble. Okay. So, yes. If you have Roku and you have the Rumble app on Roku, then yes, you can watch it. I thought that you were specifically referring to the like a dedicated Red Pill 78 Roku app. But I didn't do any shows for the last several days, Principled Enigma, so maybe that's why you didn't see anything pop up, because today is the first show since last Wednesday. All right. Long story short, Eric Swalwell is out of the race as predicted, but he had a really bumpy weekend. So much happened, and we're going to talk about all of it. Now, there was, of course, initially those statements, those stories of women who had been abused, mistreated, and sexually coerced by Eric Swalwell. There was a group of women that were meeting with a Democrat strategist, and then there was another group that went to the San Francisco Chronicle. There was actually a woman who came forward and made a credible claim of rape against Eric Swalwell. That woman was identified. I'm not going to show her identity. I don't think we need to do that. But she initially came forward anonymously because she just kind of didn't want the hassle, but she was in contact with police. And Eric Swalwell did not send her a cease and desist. But he is under criminal investigation for that incident. The rest of the women who did not come forward publicly but told their story to media, Eric Swalwell sent every single one of them a cease and desist letter. What's really interesting to me is that none of them were identified. None of them had their identities out there. But somehow Eric Swalwell knew exactly who they were. So first of all, over the weekend, we got a video of Eric Swalwell, who appearing to show him sitting on a bed in a hotel room with a young woman. Turns out she's a prostitute. There's another man sitting across from them, and then somebody else is taking the video. There's also another blonde-haired woman, well-endowed, in the background. I would guess she's probably a prostitute as well, but she has not yet been identified. So we had a video released by Martin Shkreli, and then we had another video that was released by Jack Posobiec. Let's go ahead and take a look at these videos real quick. And Eric Swalwell was forced to publicly acknowledge all of the claims against him. Initially, he said that he was going to fight against these claims, and then all of his staff started leaving. Pretty much everybody on his gubernatorial campaign left. Then everybody from his congressional office left. Then his gubernatorial campaign suspended donations. And another video came out. So there is no audio to this. I'm just going to tell you right now. But you can see here, this is definitely Eric Swalwell. This is definitely a prostitute. And then you've got another man's leg right here. It appears that there's some other man sitting on the bed right here. And there he is. He pops his head in. But I want you to pay attention. Take a look at the mirror in the background. You can see a blonde-haired woman come out, and then she realizes that whoever the person is who's taking the video is taking a video, and she immediately rushes back so she's not on camera, but she is for a second. And there she is, right there. There she is. Now, we don't know who she is yet, but I think it's only a matter of time before people figure it out. Now, who could the other guy be? Maybe Ruben Gallego. Ruben Gallego is close friends with Eric Swalwell. Ruben Gallego also ran Eric Swalwell's first unsuccessful campaign for governor several years ago. And Ruben Gallego is also rumored to have the same types of behavior. Now, I think ultimately if this is Ruben Gallego, this is an older video because he appears to have not enough gray in his beard. The beard also appears to be just a little bit longer. So this could maybe be somebody who's hooking Eric Swalwell up with these young women. I don't know. I've seen people asking, what is this thing underneath the bed? It kind of looks like maybe a small bottle of wine or something. Yeah, I think that might be, or maybe it could be like a shooter of liquor or something like that. But you can see the person who's taking the video, their leg right here. And their leg is bouncing a little bit. So are they pleasuring themselves watching Eric Swalwell? And again, I think this woman in the background is probably another hooker. She runs away, doesn't want to be on video. And this woman also, that is a prostitute on the bed, she doesn't seem like she really wants to be in the position. Now, if this guy over here on the right isn't Ruben Gallego, maybe the guy taking the video is Ruben Gallego. I don't know. We have no idea because we don't have any confirmation of anybody else. Let me say thank you to Lee Walden. He says, ahoy, Zach, Miss Lisa, and crew. Enjoyed Gart in the virtual release. Release Tina Peters immediately. No more excuses. Stay the course, brother. You're very much appreciated. The promise of America is still within reach. Thank you, sir. I am absolutely on board. Banan81 says, wouldn't you love to be inside Swalwell's house this week? He has some splaining to do. Well, Eric Swalwell, I guess his wife is in D.C. Eric Swalwell was living in Los Angeles, or not Los Angeles, but in California. We'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah, I think that there are probably some uncomfortable conversations happening. Anarchist Owl says, rather it's a video song meme again, but just thought it might be relevant. Okay, I will pull it up. ZBM says, I gotta say, I don't get why some people believe there's no point in voting, because if they have to cheat so heavily in every election, then clearly the deep state needs to keep fighting because too many of us keep voting. Yeah, I agree. I mean, personally, I believe that if I don't vote, somebody else is likely to vote in my stead. And I think that that's probably one of the reasons that we see so many inactive voters on the voter rolls. Those voters have to be on the voter rolls in order for a ballot to be cast. And if I'm not the one casting the ballot, well, then likely somebody else is going to be casting that ballot. All right. So Eric Swalwell has officially dropped out of the race. And I'm going to show you the video that he had initially posted saying that he was going to fight the allegations. But after all of this came out, there was nothing that could be done. So he said yesterday evening, I am suspending my campaign for governor. To my family, staff, friends, and supporters, I am deeply sorry for my mistakes in judgment that I've made in the past. I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not a campaign's. So now we know exclusively that the Manhattan District Attorney has launched a criminal investigation into all of these allegations of sexual assault. We know that there are likely more women who are going to be coming forward. And we also know that the Democrats were fully aware of Eric Swalwell's behavior going back to the first Trump term. Now, the woman who came forward and said that Eric Swalwell raped her, let's talk about these claims. She was sexually assaulted, she says, by Swalwell back in 2019. And then Swalwell raped her again in 2024 after she left his employment. The unidentified staffer sat down with CNN. She said, I went to the bathroom. I don't remember anything after that. Kind of sounds like he might have drugged her. She woke up the next day and had the feeling that something had happened. And then she went to a doctor and took a rape kit. She said, I could see flashes of him on top of me pushing him off, him grabbing me, a lot more aggressive. It was aggressive. He didn't stop. I woke up the next morning naked, alone in his hotel. For a moment, I didn't even know I was in his hotel room. That's how intoxicated I was. And of course, again, she went to the hospital. All told, there are more than 50 former Swalwell staffers who have not only left, but they're also demanding that he resign from Congress. And we have that statement here. So let me pull up the video of him claiming that there's nothing to see here.
A lot has been said about me today through anonymous allegations, and I thought it was important that you see and hear from me directly. These allegations of sexual assault are flat false. They are absolutely false. They did not happen. They have never happened, and I will fight them with everything that I have. They also come on the eve of an election where I have been the front-runner candidate for governor in California. I do not suggest to you in any way that I'm perfect or that I'm a saint. I have certainly made mistakes in judgment in my past, but those mistakes are between me and my wife. And to her, I apologize deeply for putting her in this position. I also apologize to you if in any way you have doubted your support for me. But I think you know who I am. For over 20 years, I have served the public as a city councilman, as a member of Congress, and as a prosecutor who went to court on behalf of victims, particularly on behalf of sexual assault victims. That's who I am and have always been. This weekend, I'm going to spend time with my family and friends, and I appreciate those who have reached out to me to show support.
I doubt that anybody has reached out to him to show support. Certainly not any former staffers. Now, this is the announcement that his staffers put out demanding that he resign from Congress. What's really notable is that even though every Democrat politico who had endorsed him for governor had withdrawn their endorsement, not a one had suggested that he resign from Congress. Now, the only people that I saw suggesting he be removed from Congress, and there was going to be a vote for removal this week, was Anna Paulina Luna. And Anna Paulina Luna was hitting it pretty hard. Now, the good news is, for Eric Swalwell anyways, he's not going to have to endure that, because just a few moments ago, Eric Swalwell did, in fact, resign from Congress, effective immediately. Now, he was only going to be a congressman until the end of the year because in order to run for governor, he did not again file to run for his congressional seat. The last day to do that was March 6th, so he passed that up. However, he says in this announcement just released moments ago, I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. Okay. I will fight the serious false allegations against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make. Does that include raping a staffer who had a boyfriend? I'm not sure. I wonder if he's talking about all of the unsolicited dick pics he sent on Snapchat to girls who were working for him. Or I wonder if he's talking about the times when he used to jog by his former staffer's home, knowing that she would be there, showing up sweaty and asking if he could come inside, even though she also had a boyfriend. He said, I am aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against me and other members. Expelling anyone in Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong, but it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties, and therefore I plan to resign my seat in Congress. I will work with my staff in the coming days to ensure that they are able, in my absence, to serve the needs of the good people of the 14th Congressional District. He was on the Intel Committee, but he was kicked off the Intel Committee because, of course, he was compromised by a Chinese honeypot. The Chinese honeypot is the reason that he, of course, lost that position. It's also why he lost his security clearance, but probably his behavior in Congress and outside of Congress, his predilection for women and all of that stuff. This is the reason why it was so easy for Fang Fang to compromise him in the way that she did. Now, I also want to talk to you about the billionaire we spoke about last week, the man who himself has a strange relationship with a what appears to be a Mossad honeypot, a woman who is currently facing felony charges for ripping off Johns. This guy right here, Stephen Klubeck, was the billionaire who was essentially single-handedly propping up Eric Swalwell's gubernatorial campaign. It's possible that the video that we just saw of Eric Swalwell was made at Stephen's home, because this is where Eric was staying when he wasn't staying at posh Beverly Hills hotels. So after all of these allegations came out, before Eric Swalwell actually resigned, Stephen Klubeck kicked Eric Swalwell out of his house. He also apparently demanded more than $1 million as recompense for all of the money that he had put into Eric Swalwell. Maybe that was $1 million that he gave Eric Swalwell just to live his life. But even more than that, Stephen Klubeck has also left the Democrat Party. He said, F the Democratic Party. I am done. Finito. So I guess that Stephen Klubeck made his billions in casinos and timeshares. At one time, he used to call Eric Swalwell little brother. He poured over $1 million into this campaign, and now he has cut ties, kicked him out of his home, and Klubeck is now demanding back every penny of that money that he spent on Eric Swalwell because of all of these allegations. Now, Swalwell is likely not going to be able to pay Stephen Klubeck all this money back. He has troubled financial history. He obviously has not cashed in the same way that Nancy Pelosi and others have. Instead, he was too busy cashing in on that ass. So Eric Swalwell, not a particularly good congressman. Not going to be a particularly good defendant either, and he is going to find himself between a rock and a hard place. I guess that Klubeck spent a bunch of money flying Eric Swalwell all over the place. They used to be best friends. Now, not so much. And Eric Swalwell is probably making more enemies by the moment. Now, we also have this from Nick Sorter. Nick Sorter had some covert video of Eric Swalwell that he released over the weekend. And he can also confirm that Digger, just because he left the Democrat Party doesn't mean that he's joining the GOP. And in fact, I think it's highly unlikely that he's just suddenly going to become a Democrat. Of course, it's a free country. He can register however he wants, but I don't believe that that's going to happen. He hasn't said anything about joining the Republicans. Nick Sorter says, I can now confirm prosecutors from multiple jurisdictions have reached out to me regarding my Swalwell expose. My attorneys and I will be cooperating with all of them. This is not going to be a fun week for Fang Fang's boyfriend. So we can expect that there are going to be announcements about additional criminal investigations into Eric Swalwell being made very, very shortly. Now, this is probably not going to happen, but before Eric Swalwell had announced his retirement or leaving Congress, there was also the announcement that the House Ethics Committee was going to do an investigation into him. Probably won't be necessary now that he's not going to be in Congress. In addition to the expulsions of Eric Swalwell, there are also going to be 3 other expulsions that are scheduled for this week. Corey Mills is going to be among them. Sheila Cherfilis McCormick is going to be another one. I believe that Ruben Gallego is also on that list. Tony Gonzalez is also on that list. So there could potentially be several members of Congress who have similar histories to Eric Swalwell who also end up getting removed this week. Now, somebody earlier this morning said this is a distraction. It's exposing sick degenerates in Congress, regardless of their party, and talking about getting them kicked out. I don't think it's a distraction at all. I think that this is an exposure up to show that these are the type of people who you have in government representing you. This is exactly the type of people that we don't want to be representing the people of the United States. Let me say thank you very much to Will to push forward. Zach, I guess we can say there will be no Nookums for Snookums Fartswell. No, definitely not. Angie K. Zach, check out ex-Congressman George Santos' posts. He is naming names and going live on Newsmax tonight. He named both Republicans and Democrats. Yes, I actually saw the list, and Nancy Mace was among them. I thought that was great. George Santos talking about members of Congress who were involved in sexual deviancy happening in cages. I don't have the tweet pulled up, but I definitely did see it. So let me find this, and I will read you the list of names. Gosh, George is a prolific tweeter. He has put out so much stuff. Maybe he deleted the one that I was actually looking at. He might have actually deleted it in anticipation of tonight because it's not here anymore. Okay, so I guess we'll just have to wait for his appearance tonight, and then we'll follow up on the story tomorrow when he comes out with that list of names. Yeah, Nancy Mace had sex with the reporters. I definitely heard that. I also heard she had sex with Corey Mills. I don't know if that's true. Rumor. But either way. Okay, so now actually let me find that chat from... Oh my gosh, it's going to make me enter a code. Okay, Anarchist Owl. Let's play this. Okay. Oh my gosh. It's going to pull up all of my messages, not the one that I want to see. Hold on just a second, family. Okay. Okay, here we go.
You ain't nothing but swallows well. Hey. He swallows his load. He don't mind one bit.
Oh, come on, dude. Oh, God. All right. With all due respect, I'm not going to play this right here. Let me watch the rest of it. That was just a little bit more explicit than I thought it was going to be. Oh, my God, dude. That is nasty, yes. Okay. Oh, Angie found the George Santos tweet. Okay. Okay. When I was in Congress, I used to talk to staff and reporters on the Hill a lot. During that time, I learned about the activities taking place in the cages, which are in the storage rooms in the basement of the House office buildings. I reported it to the House admin chair at the time, Brian Stile. He did nothing. But over the course of my time on Capitol Hill, I learned a lot of members had rumors and or allegations against them. Now, I'm not the sex police. and I never dug into it, but to name a few rumors I heard about when I was there of members engaging in lewd or alleged sexual misconduct like behavior with staff or reporters, you had Eric Swalwell, Tony Gonzalez, Max Miller, Dan Mauser, Matt Rosendale, Ruben Gallego, Nancy Mace, Anthony Desposito, Mark Green, Lori Chavez, Richie Torres, Brian Stile, Cory Booker, and Bob Menendez. Several of those people are definitely those that I would assume would be on that list. But in continuation, let me see. We also need to say thank you to Denise Ann, who says, what about the Republicans that they voted out with due process? There was no investigation at all, no hearing or nothing. So what about the Republicans they voted out without due process? Which ones are you talking about? I don't know. You're going to have to get more specific, Denise Ann. Are you talking about expulsions like George Santos when George Santos was expelled? Because, I mean, the due process was the ethics investigation and then having him removed. That is technically something that Congress can do and something that I believe they should have done for people like Sheila Cherfilus McCormick. But at this point, I don't care what party they are. Really, that doesn't matter to me. I think that we've got people serving in Congress that are degenerates. Will to Push Forward says, Zach, oh, wow, even Eric's name in that image has a skid mark. Northern Pike says, Rooster, keep us posted on Eric Swallow's LOL, divorce and hang him by the balls for I don't know. Could it be some type of treason against his wife? He definitely committed treason against his wife. Yeah, Bob Menendez, he had the gold bars. I mean, all kinds of reasons for Menendez to get kicked out as well. Okay, so yeah, technically there was due process because you had the ethics investigation and then you had the vote of Congress to have him removed. I don't like it. I think that George Santos should have had the ability to, go through the trial and to be found guilty before they removed him. But unfortunately, that is the power that Congress holds. They can kick out their own members if they believe that they had done something that they shouldn't have. And there are far more than them that have committed acts which I think should make them ineligible to serve in Congress. So thank you to Filter Dog. You dropped a link for Swalwell resigning from Congress. Darla says, how much you want to bet Swalwell in the arts is the sacrificial lamb for the Democrats to claim they take victims seriously, unlike the Republicans. They're already saying Melania is getting ahead of something big, and she's covering up, just saying predictable. So let me tell you why that's not the case. Because when all of those Democrat reps and senators and politicos, when they withdrew their support for Eric for the governor's race, none of them asked to have him removed from Congress. Eric removing himself from Congress came before Republicans on the ethics committee could have an ethics hearing, hold him accountable, and vote to have him expelled. So, no, I don't think that's what's happening here. I think that the Democrats wanted Eric to stay in Congress until the end of his term, and then I think that they just wanted him to not run anymore and to walk away. Andrew Costello says, sorry, Zach, I should have mentioned not safe for work. Didn't think it was that bad. I won't make the same mistake again. You're okay, buddy. I'm not mad at you. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's it. All right, so the next big story is what was on the thumbnail. That is the release from the Director of National Intelligence of all of this undeclassified information related to the Ukraine impeachment. We have a full report from the DNI. We're going to go through it. But just to give you guys a primer, because it was 7 years ago now, when we were covering this at the time. You'll probably remember back in August of 2019, I didn't realize this until Ghost and I were talking about it earlier, but this is at the same time that I showed my face on screen for the very first time on purpose. So there was a whistleblower. His name was Eric Ciaramella. He filed a complaint with the Intelligence Community Inspector General, Michael Atkinson, targeting President Trump for that call with Zelensky in July of that same summer. Now, the complaint was not based on Eric Ciaramella's own information. It was second-hand hearsay, and it's the process that led to the first impeachment of President Trump, the Ukraine impeachment. It was Alexander Vindman, working for the NSA, on the National Security Council who heard this call that President Trump had with Zelensky, and Alexander Vindman calls Eric Ciaramella at the CIA because he doesn't want to be directly implicated in making the whistleblower complaint. And he gives some information to Ciaramella. Ciaramella, of course, was previously worked for Joe Biden. He was definitely supporting Joe Biden. Ciaramella, having secondhand information, was not eligible to file a whistleblower complaint. However, Michael Atkinson, the OIG at that time, and the Inspector General for the intelligence community, changed the rules to make it possible for Eric Ciaramella to sign that whistleblower statement. Again, Eric Ciaramella worked for the CIA. However, he filed the whistleblower complaint through a different channel, through the State Department. Obviously, the State Department and the CIA are connected. However, there are different processes that are set up for that. Now, the claim from the call was that President Trump had demanded a quid pro quo with Zelensky. It was comical because at that time, there was a lot of commentary about quid pro quo, but it was Joe Biden who was getting a quid pro quo. There was supposed to be military aid in exchange for some kind of an investigation into corruption within the Biden family, of course, taking place in Ukraine. Now, we know that claim was untrue, and we have the transcript here, and you can see the selected statements that were taken from the transcript to make it appear as if President Trump had asked for some type of quid pro quo. Michael Atkinson was himself interested in helping to remove President Trump. Michael Atkinson had the power to make sure that this whistleblower complaint was never made. Michael Atkinson changed the rules because he was directly involved in ensuring that this whistleblower complaint went through and that it would lead to the impeachment of President Trump. Now, you can see here in the transcript of the call, the president, I would like for you to do us a favor. And then there is the rest of his statement cut out, a long statement from Zelensky cut out, and then much more from President Trump's following statement cut out. And then it jumps directly to the end. There's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the attorney general, that would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution, so if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. So you take the beginning and the end, you put it together, you claim that there is a quid pro quo, you leave out the fact that you didn't actually hear it and that you shouldn't be positing this whistleblower complaint in the first place. We get to the Ukraine impeachment. Now, why is this important? A lot of people, I'm sure they're looking at this and they're saying, well, I know all this. Zach, you told us this 7 years ago. We are already aware that Eric Ciaramella, CIA agent, working with the intelligence community inspector general, part of the deep state, worked for Joe Biden, helped to bring about the Ukraine impeachment. All of this is public knowledge, right? But much of the specifics were hidden in memos and paperwork that was kept secret by Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is very important here because Adam Schiff was having regular communication with Eric Ciaramella prior to his whistleblower complaint ever being filed. Adam Schiff also claimed publicly in Congress, as he spoke about these claims, that he didn't know who the whistleblower was. He had never met with him. Oh, wow. Well, that's a lie. That's a damn dirty lie. And the release of this now declassified information is further sauce towards proving the grand conspiracy. You've got, again, a series of overt actions which directly led to an attempt to commit a coup and remove a sitting president from office. All of it very, very important. And although 7 years has now elapsed, statute of limitations may be gone, there is no statute of limitations when it's part of an ongoing conspiracy. So if you hear people talk about the statute of limitations, I would just brush that from your mind. Now, Tulsi Gabbard put out this handy dandy graphic. Newly declassified documents expose deep state conspiracy to manufacture the 2019 impeachment scam. Here's the flowchart. You've got the secondhand whistleblower account. You've got the weaponization of the ICIG process. That's Michael Atkinson. The ICIG's so-called investigation, there was none. It relied only on that secondhand evidence and the self-declared whistleblower Eric Ciaramella, who was a registered Democrat, who had, of course, worked for Joe Biden. He had done Ukraine work for Joe Biden, and he lied about speaking with Democrats in Congress. And, of course, Adam Schiff himself lied about speaking with this Democrat whistleblower who had worked for Joe Biden and specifically worked on Ukraine. One of the key authors of this entire thing was, of course, Peter Strzok. One of the key sources for this impeachment scam was the co-author of the 2017 Russia hoax, ICA. That was a close colleague of discredited former FBI agent Peter Strzok. You've also got the ICIG exceeding their statutory authority. They completely ignored guidance to transmit faulty complaints to Congress. They were aware that this did not rise to the level of a whistleblower complaint, and they brought it forward anyways because they knew that once it had been let out of the box, the genie could not be recontained. So let's look at everything that Tulsi Gabbard put out. So she exposes conspiracy used by Congress to impeach President Trump. Today, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, releases never-before-seen documents exposing a coordinated effort by elements within the intelligence community, including a former inspector general, to manufacture a conspiracy that was used as the basis to impeach President Trump in 2019. During his preliminary investigation into President Trump's July 2019 phone conversation with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, former ICIG Michael Atkinson did not follow standard IG procedures, and he relied upon politicized, manufactured narratives, only conducting interviews with 4 individuals. That would be the whistleblower, Eric Ciaramella, the whistleblower's friend, who was the co-author and, of course, confidant of Peter Strzok, part of the January 2017 Russia hoax intelligence community assessment, close friend of Peter Strzok, and 2 character references that had zero firsthand knowledge of that phone call from July 2019. They didn't even speak to Alexander Vindman, apparently, although they used him in testimony. Now, despite a lack of any firsthand evidence, Atkinson proceeded to take actions to weaponize that whistleblower process. He exceeded his statutory jurisdiction by ignoring Department of Justice guidance, and he relied only on secondhand testimony to ensure the whistleblower complaint was released to Congress, referred to the FBI, and then, of course, leaked to the mainstream media. Then, of course, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence chairman would be Adam Schiff and Speaker Nancy Pelosi. They used false secondhand narratives to create media intrigue and ultimately spark the basis to impeach President Trump in December of 2019. Now, I'm sure you also remember that Adam Schiff would routinely supposedly talk about all of the various things that President Trump had done. Yes, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. Now, the conversation that Adam Schiff would have with mainstream media puppets when he would discuss this stuff is that he had knowledge that was classified that he could not tell anyone. But you can trust me, President Trump did these things. Now, the truth of the matter was that Adam Schiff only had the cover-up that was classified, hidden during the classification process so that nobody would find out until much, much later, as we are finding out right now. Tulsi Gabbard, in relation to this declassification, says deep state actors within the intelligence community concocted a false narrative that was used by Congress to usurp the will of the American people and impeach the duly elected president of the United States. Inspector General Atkinson failed to uphold his responsibility to the American people, putting political motivations over the truth, and this, along with the politicization of the whistleblower process by a former CIA employee who was working hand in glove with Democrats in Congress, are egregious examples of the deep state playbook on how to weaponize the intelligence community. Exposing these tactics and showing how they undermine the fabric of our democratic republic furthers the critical cause of transparency and accountability and will help prevent future abuses of power. So today's release includes investigative materials from then ICIG Atkinson and a review of 2 transcripts from closed-door testimony Atkinson gave before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Immediately as soon as he gave it, they classified it. Those were they were withheld from the House Judiciary Committee during the sham impeachment trial and kept in a safe until House Intelligence Chairman Rick Crawford led the vote to release these transcripts on March 24th. We find, when looking at ultimately Atkinson's report on everything that he learned during his investigation, that, of course, there was no firsthand evidence. We knew that back then, but now we've got the confirmation from Atkinson himself. The ICIG's preliminary investigation into Charamella's complaint relied exclusively on politicized actors and second-hand evidence. These newly declassified documents expose how Atkinson relied upon second-hand information from the self-declared Democrat whistleblower and 2 biased witnesses to justify his determination that the whistleblower complaint was of urgent concern, appears credible, and must be reported to Congress. Atkinson also ignored concerns by the whistleblower's supervisor about a rushed complaint. Charamella also confirmed that he had no firsthand knowledge of President Trump's call with Zelensky. In an initial form submitted by the whistleblower, he claimed, "I do not have firsthand knowledge of private comments or communications by the president." Now, the new witness interviews released today show that Atkinson's public claim that other information obtained during his preliminary review supports the complaint's allegation are totally false. And it was, in fact, neither of the whistleblower or the key witnesses' allegations concerning the president's phone call were informed by direct firsthand knowledge. No one they spoke to had actually heard the words coming out of President Trump's mouth. It was all a matter of the telephone game. Witness 2 admitted that upon reading the transcript of the call, they would not have been able to get from point A to Z the way the whistleblower did, and described that he or she lacked the granular detail that the whistleblower had to justify filing the complaint. Witness 2 admitted that he or she had to read between the lines of what was being said, and that his or her perception of quid pro quo became clear only in hindsight, meaning that no one hearing these words coming out of President Trump's mouth reasonably would have believed them to be an attempt at creating a quid pro quo relationship. Now, the supervisor of Eric Charamella, a senior officer at the National Intelligence Council, told Atkinson and their investigators that they did not like how the whistleblower handled the filing of the report, saying they felt that they were looped in right at the time of the crash. Now, Atkinson performed a 14-day preliminary investigation. It was only intended to assess apparent credibility. Instead, this became the basis of a flawed, mischaracterized account that House Democrats peddled to launch a sham impeachment, even though the ICIG never actually conducted a formal or complete investigation. In Atkinson's own words, he recognized that his conclusions were based merely on this preliminary data, and "I haven't done an investigation to determine whether they actually, in fact, took place, that all of the alleged actions actually took place." Now, of course, Atkinson relied on testimony from a co-author of the 2017 Russia hoax ICA to support these whistleblower allegations that there was some type of wrongdoing President Trump had committed. And last year, DNI Gabbard had revealed evidence that President Obama had directed the creation of that January 2017 Russia hoax ICA. This served as the basis for what was essentially a years-long coup against the duly elected president of the United States, subverting the will of the American people and attempting to delegitimize Donald Trump's presidency. You see what she just did there? She just directly connected the Ukraine impeachment hoax to the overt act, the Russia hoax ICA at the start of Donald Trump's presidency, the end of the Barack Hussein Obama presidency. This continues the overt actions of the conspiracy forward year by year. Now, witness 2, who was one of the key sources for the whistleblower ahead of the filing of the complaint, admits in a witness interview for being the co-author of the 2017 ICA, which used the manufactured and manipulated intelligence to create that false narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to try to benefit President Trump. Witness 2 also admitted to having worked alongside disgraced former FBI agent Peter Strzok, who inserted his own political bias into FBI investigations about the president based on that manufactured Russia hoax. Witness 2 also further exposed political bias when explaining that they routinely deal with issues on a daily basis that are contrary to their personal beliefs, and stated that they were disappointed every day by policy decisions and statements made by political figures. Now, the partisan bias of this whistleblower and the lies they told were also confirmed during the course of these preliminary investigations. They admitted they had lied to the Inspector General about speaking to Democrats in Congress ahead of submitting these allegations of wrongdoing by the president. Media had widely reported this detail back in 2019. The pre-complaint meeting with Congress was never confirmed before by this whistleblower. In October of 2019, once the media started reporting on this, saying that the whistleblower had spoken with Congress ahead of submitting the disclosure of urgent concern form, the whistleblower called the ICIG, actually admitted that, yes, in fact, they had spoken with Congress. Those people, were Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. Now, Atkinson also admitted in this newly declassified testimony that his investigative team did ask the complainant who else knew about the disclosure, and the complainant bald-faced withheld that information from the investigation team. There was a 14-day window they could have come forward to do this. During that 14-day window, they actually alerted Adam Schiff and the staff of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. The interviews with the whistleblower also further revealed their political bias. In their own words, the whistleblower stated that he or she was a registered Democrat, that they worked closely with Vice President Biden. They traveled with Biden to Ukraine. They were part of conversations where Lutsenko corruption was discussed. They also claim to have been the target of right-wing bloggers and conspiracy theorists. The whistleblower also claims to have been the target of, Atkinson ignored all of this and insisted during his testimony to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, I want to make it clear that I never considered the whistleblower to be politically biased. The bias was inherent in their own testimony. Now, despite public reports that the whistleblower worked with Biden on Ukraine, inquiries into their bias and motive were, of course, blocked from being presented during the 2020 impeachment trial. We also learn in these newly declassified documents, it confirms that ICIG Atkinson failed to conduct basic due diligence and willfully exceeded his statutory jurisdiction to mischaracterize the president's phone call with Zelensky as an urgent concern to Congress. It definitely wasn't. Atkinson sent a criminal referral to the DOJ on this matter, despite only relying on secondhand knowledge to support those claims. The DOJ later assessed the allegations raised by Ciaramella, and the IG found no basis for a criminal case. They also concluded that based on the facts and the applicable law, there was no campaign finance violation. No further action was warranted. After the DOJ reviewed the whistleblower's complaint and determined there was no urgent concern, Atkinson ignored that determination and proceeded to transmit the faulty whistleblower complaint to Congress without completing the full investigation, despite the allegations being made based on secondhand faulty information. September 3rd, the DOJ provided the Office of Legal Counsel guidance to Atkinson, stating that the complaint did not rise to a level of urgent concern because the alleged conduct does not relate to the funding, administration, or operation of an intelligence activity under the authority of the Director of National Intelligence. As a result, the statute does not require the director to transmit the complaint to the Congressional Intelligence Committees. On September 9th, the ICIG ignored this guidance and the acting director of National Intelligence to pen a letter to inform the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence of the existence of this so-called urgent concern. And as reported at the time, the OIG altered the whistleblower form within months of that initial July 2019 phone call so that they could remove the need for any firsthand knowledge as a prerequisite for reporting complaints as a whistleblower. Essentially, Atkinson sought unprecedented assistance from other inspector generals to carry out this investigation. If he was stopped, he wanted to see whether or not other inspector generals could proceed. He was willing to proceed forward at any cost. And of course, that is his reputation at the end of the day. My wife says, who was the Ukrainian I think you had on for an interview with Neon Revolt years ago? Do you remember him or am I misrepresenting? You look gorgeous today. Thank you, darling. I don't think that it was an Italian that I had on. It was Giulio Occhianero. And I think it was just Neon was reading the answers from Giulio because all he spoke was Italian. He didn't speak English. But I don't think that I had anybody else on there that might fall underneath that. Snowcat Operator, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subscriptions. Appreciate that. You guys make sure you say thank you. Principled Enigma says, more people are guilty than will admit it. They only stand up against someone when they're caught. I can't wait to see movement against the top players like Soros, Rothschild, Clintons, and so many others. Absolutely. I am waiting on that myself. Abanon says, do Anons need a reminder that all roads lead to the Holy See? Too busy focused on the Jews. Much love, brother. Much love to you as well, my friend. And all right, before we get into the next segment of today's show, I do have a quick message from our friends over here on Rumble. Thank you very much to Rumble, and thank you very much to the good folks over here at Emerald Meld. I want to tell you guys about a family. They're a farming family supporting this channel, many others here on Rumble. 8 years ago, their brother returned from Afghanistan. He had significant injuries. He had lost his ability to function in many different ways. Now, his exact story cannot be shared because of FDA restrictions, but some of his friends kept suggesting CBD. So they tried dozens of different CBD products. Nothing helped. Out of frustration, they began to create their own formulations, and they started making it so that they could help their friends, family, and people they love have CBD they knew was going to be clean and as powerful as possible. So then doctors started finding out about it. They asked if they could carry it, and it really took off. And now they end up speaking at medical conventions, and they help other people all across the country. Now, most companies have 1 to 10 compounds in their CBD oil. This oil has up to 50 active compounds, and they have 8 different things they make, different types of products. They make balms, gummies, pet products, etc., and it's called Emerald Med. You can check these guys out, and if you get their CBD and for some reason you don't notice a big difference, they are actually going to provide you a full refund, so there's nothing to lose. But if you want to support a business that supports my channel and free speech on Rumble with marketing dollars, and you need a source for real CBD, they're running a special right now because it's their company's anniversary. So you can click the link below to try Emerald Med and get 40% off today. You can get extreme muscle and joint relief, get significant inflammation and circulation support, support quality sleep, or even just daytime calm. They're worth a try at least once because they do have that money back offer. So just click the link below, use the code for 40% off on up to 2 items today. You can also use that QR code on screen right there. Thank you very much to Emerald Med and Rumble. Wait, are you guys saying that sound dropped? Did somebody have, is somebody back at the beginning of the show? Because that might be it, because I'm not seeing anybody else say that sound dropped out right now. Good evening, Dom-Dem. All right, so, you know, I don't need to get into this. I think there was a clip, but basically went over everything. No issues with the sound. Thank you, Alias. All right, this is what I wanted to show you. John Ratcliffe, obviously, Eric Ciaramella used to work for the agency that he currently heads up. So John Ratcliffe, as the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, his reaction to Eric Ciaramella and so many others being exposed is clearly something I'd like to hear about. On top of that, Ratcliffe, during the fake impeachment proceedings, he was playing a big role in Congress. I mean, he was defending President Trump during that 2019 Ukraine-themed impeachment. Now, today, his agency declared that this newly declassified evidence about the credibility and political bias of their chief accuser, which was one of their agents, was, of course, deeply flawed. Now, Director Ratcliffe has made clear as a member of President Trump's impeachment advisory team back in 2019, the impeachment at that time was entirely baseless. It was always unfounded, and it was brought in politically motivated bad faith. That statement was from Liz Lyons. She is the CIA's Director of Public Affairs. The agency's rare statement came just a few hours after it was initially reported that Tulsi Gabbard was releasing all of this information about the CIA analyst Eric Ciaramella, who prompted the impeachment. And those memos that she released, again, are damning. It gives us a much clearer view of exactly what happened. You can say, once again, President Trump has ultimately been completely vindicated. And, of course, it would not be a story about the vindication of President Trump if we also did not get a statement from President Trump on his vindication. Now, typically, when President Trump speaks out on these things recently, he's been rather subdued. I think he's got his hands full, and he knows that there are others who are working to ultimately clear his name. So he doesn't need to say a lot, but let's take a listen.
Do you feel vindicated by those?
Yeah, I do. They're a bunch of crooked people. You're talking about with respect to all of the things that they put against me? Yeah. Well, it's come out that in so many different ways. Thank you very much for that question. I appreciate it. But in so many different ways, the election was rigged. The 2020 election was rigged. We found that out. What you just said is just a piece of that. It's a big piece, but minor, relatively speaking, compared to what they did. They cheated on the election. They cheated on the vote. And they cheated in every way possible. And it's the only way we got an incompetent man to be a president. And he was an incompetent man. Many of the things that we're talking about, even including this would have been settled a long time ago, not now. And it should have been settled by other presidents. But the election was a rigged election. We can't let that happen to our country.
It's concealment of exculpatory information. What should happen?
Well, it's very serious.
The election was rigged. That was really what I wanted to hear President Trump say. So many people for a very long time have essentially held on to that concept that the election of 2020 was rigged. We know it was rigged. All right. You used to not be able to say that on certain places online. Now you can go ahead and say it. And the Tulsi Gabbard, as the Director of National Intelligence, continues to release evidence proving it time and time again. But what is even more important is what I said earlier, the continuance of the grand conspiracy to subvert the election of President Trump. They did it time and time again. And the furtherance of that conspiracy continues on to this day, which is exactly why the statute of limitations holds no weight in this legal argument. All right. Now, we are now going to listen to several clips from an interview that Stephen Miller did on Fox News. Only going to be hearing from Stephen Miller. Don't really care so much about the questions because it's the answers that I really love. Now, many people might have seen the coverage that I did last week on the Dignity Act. The Dignity Act has really grabbed the attention of a lot of people in America because it's just so openly offensive. It is directly a slap in the face to every naturalized American, to every native-born American. It would give immediate classification to many, many, many millions of people, so many tens of millions of illegal aliens that are currently here inside the United States. It would protect gang members. It would ensure that mass deportations stop right now. So people were justifiably concerned. What would happen if Congress passed it? Well, I'm here to tell you, just as I said last week, even if Congress passed it, which I don't believe they will, President Trump would veto it. He would just not sign it and he would send it back. President Trump is not interested in amnesty. President Trump was elected to perform the largest mass deportation operation in the history of the world. And that is what he is going to continue to do. Let's hear from Stephen Miller.
It's impossible to talk about immigration reform without sealing the border. Nobody I know, Democrat or Republican, who does not believe the border is sealed. Leads some to say, like farmers and meat packers, what about some of the illegals here that are helping my company? Which led Mike Lawler, a Republican in a battleground district, to roll out the Dignity Act. Here's a little of it. It says.
Now, even before we hear from Mike Lawler, you know how I feel about illegal aliens that are working for American companies. I think if you're an American company and you employ illegal aliens, you should cut your losses and fire those people immediately. Do whatever you can to help them go back to their home country. Do not give them a reason to stick around, because eventually the government, ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, they're going to find you. And when they find you, they're going to arrest those illegal aliens that are in your employ. And when they arrest those illegal aliens in your employ, you're also running the risk of getting yourself criminally charged, because it is a crime to keep those people on your payroll. It's also an affront to every American citizen who might possibly want to work for you. If you are an American and you own a business, you need to hire Americans. You need to support America. And you need to put that money into the pocket of Americans instead of putting it into your own pockets, because you know damn well that you're not paying illegal aliens what you would pay an American, and you're pocketing the difference.
If you've been here more than 5 years, so not the people that came under Joe Biden's disastrous administration, but the people who have been in this country more than 5 years, 10, 15, 20 years, whose children and grandchildren may in fact be American citizens.
And again, because you've been here doesn't mean you get to stay here. Because you were successfully able to avoid criminal liability for years at a time, that's no reason to get a reward. That's no reason to get a participation trophy. That's no reason to get a green card. It's even more of a reason to send your ass back to whatever country you came from.
They would qualify if they have not committed a crime.
Also, as I've said, just want to drive this home, simply because you have not been indicted, charged, tried, convicted of a crime does not make you a criminal. By nature of your presence here in our country as an illegal alien, you are a criminal. You do not deserve to be rewarded for your criminal activity. There are many, many, many tens of millions of illegal aliens who would qualify under the Dignity Act, and those people do not deserve to receive some type of reward for successfully evading the law.
Pay back taxes, they pay a fine, they have a job, and they do not collect government benefits. They would qualify for a legal status, not citizenship.
So a little about what he mentioned, but here's some of the facts with the Dignity Act. Where do you stand with it, Stephen?
Well, you know that this administration opposes amnesty. President Trump has always been clear in his opposition to amnesty, and I, of course, you know my own views. But I want to reframe this whole conversation, Brian, if I could, to something that President Trump has been very focused on for a long time, and that's about having the kind of immigration to this country that makes us stronger, not weaker. I think this conversation gets siloed too often when we have to look at the whole picture. You know, you saw the recent tragic case where an illegal alien from Haiti bludgeoned a woman to death in broad daylight with a hammer, smashing her skull in, one hammer blow after another.
Let me just comment on that, too. In 2024, illegal aliens committed over 13,000 murders in the United States of America. In 2024, just over 20,000 Americans were murdered in total. That means that something like 65% of the murders committed in the United States in 2024 were committed by illegal aliens. Many of those people had no criminal record prior to the murder of an American citizen. Illegal aliens are a danger to the health and welfare of every American citizen. And if those people had not been allowed to come into our country, each and every one of those 13,000 plus American citizens would be alive. And greater than half the number of murders committed in the 2024 year never would have happened in the first place.
That's what happens.
Yes, 20,000 reported murders. Think about all of the murders that never are reported because people just go missing. Think about the holes in the desert that people end up in, and they just are listed as missing. Absolutely too big for bike.
when you have open borders to this country from some of the most dangerous parts of the world. That's one person that Biden let in, the Democrats let in, to maim and murder our citizens, but there are thousands more. When you have open migration, as we've had, Brian, largely, it was very bad under Biden, but largely for 5 decades before President Trump, we had open migration from the most dangerous places of the world. How do your schools work? How do your hospitals work? How does your economy work? How do you have a society that can win all these great civilizational struggles against our adversaries around the world if you have to feed, house, clothe, educate, support, give affirmative action to millions and millions of people from failed states around the world? So President Trump has said, we want to have high-value migration into this country, not low-value migration. And we have to deal with the fact that we have millions of people here who are on welfare, who are not contributing, who commit a lot of crime, who consume a lot of public resources, and it's in the best interest of this country for those people to be humanely returned home. That's the big conversation. And so this old Washington conversation about amnesty is missing the whole point. The real conversation is, how do we have an immigration policy that makes America stronger and more unified, not weaker and more divided?
So, you know what I would love to see? I would love to see every single Democrat or Republican that currently supports the Dignity Act to be primaried by the loved one of an American citizen whose family member, child, mother, father lost their life to the hands of an illegal alien. That's what I would love to see. Now, Stephen Miller also commenting on fraud. Of course, fraud to a large degree committed by those low-quality migrants who come to the United States and plenty of illegals. Take a listen, because if it wasn't for all the fraud, we wouldn't even have to pay taxes.
And this is completely true. But for fraud, we could balance the federal budget. In other words, if the only people who receive benefits were those who lawfully qualified, were actually eligible, and actually needed them, we would balance the federal.
Hold on, Spud Hill, that's not true. We have criminal cases going on right now. We have plenty of indictments. The first day of the fraud division, they went out and arrested dozens and dozens of people. They shut down hundreds of millions, $500 million in active fraud that was going on. There is accountability coming. Just because you're not like following along with the trials doesn't mean that it's not actually happening. We've had plenty of people be arrested. There is accountability.
Budget. President Trump was relentlessly attacked by the corrupt government of California, by the corrupt government of Minnesota, by the corrupt Democrats in Washington for exposing the plague of fraud that is taking place in this country. Now you have a face-saving effort by the government of California to try to pretend that they care about this issue. Here's the fact for you, Brian. We have been trying for 15 months to get the rolls of Medicaid recipients and food stamp recipients in California simply to scrub off the illegal aliens and non-citizens who are getting benefits.
And here, another excellent example. The process of bringing accountability is not as simple as just saying, put this person in jail. There is, unfortunately, a legal system set up in America that is overly complicated and designed to draw it out as long as possible. I know it's not happening quickly, bro. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's not actually happening. And I will continue to refer back to the grand conspiracy grand jury that is currently taking place down here in Florida. Just because you haven't seen these people be brought to the ultimate accountability that you're looking for doesn't mean that it isn't actively happening right now. The criminal justice system down here in Florida is far different from the system that they have in California or the system they even have in Minnesota. So don't give up and say that you're tired or that you don't want to see anymore simply because you haven't gotten to the end yet. All right? It is happening, my friend. Trust me.
And for 15 months, we're in court over this. We're being sued by California over this. For 15 months, the governor and the corrupt leaders of that state have refused. And this is completely true.
Oh, shoot. Well, I accidentally started at the beginning. Doesn't matter. That was essentially the end of it right there. Now, let's talk about this. Okay, how's this for accountability? Stopping these things from taking place. What have the Democrats said? Oh, illegal aliens don't qualify for benefits, so they don't get benefits. Well, guess what? In Chicago, they're reporting that more than 16,000 in Illinois are set to lose food assistance in the coming months. Why? Because of the actions of the Trump administration. So this includes refugees, asylum seekers, and supposedly survivors of human trafficking. So not people, Americans who have been trafficked, but people who were brought across the border. They're no longer eligible for SNAP assistance. They're losing all of their benefits. It's not just SNAP, it is public housing, cash assistance, all of it. All of these people are being kicked off, which means that they have fewer reasons to remain in the United States of America, especially if they have lost any specific status that they have here. Those people going home. Let's also take a look at this additional effort that is taking place inside the Trump administration, the concept of birth tourism. The Chinese anchor babies, people who come to the United States of America, land on a cruise ship inside U.S. territorial waters, come stay at a home in California. Well, we now have a new division set up specifically to focus on criminally charging the people, the companies that are assisting in birth tourism. You got dozens, hundreds of companies likely involved. This is a business that brings in a lot of money. But now they are going after these companies. There is a company called Have My Baby in Miami. They offer support and advice on how you can come to Miami, have a baby, get citizenship for your kid, and then leave, or maybe stick around and get benefits. These include lawyers who specialize in immigration. They got contact forms set up exclusively in Spanish. They've had the so-called successful delivery of over 2,000 children from international mothers. And they even tout on their homepage a link to Al Jazeera videos about birth tourism. So this is another example of how this is being addressed so that we can have the accountability that you seek. Additionally, the fraud efforts that I mentioned before, this is just the beginning. Stephen Miller lays out that right now you are witnessing the terrific expansion of the anti-fraud task force, and that you're going to see more and more every single day.
Now, what you're going to see with President Trump's task force that he put Vice President Vance in charge of is increasing scope of raids, prosecutions, enforcement actions, and convictions. The month right now that we're in is going to be the beginning of this large ramp up. In the near weeks, you're going to see more and more enforcement, more and more results, and you're going to see more and more delivery of justice for the American people who've been robbed blind. Now,
all right. It is just the beginning, you guys. We've lived under a system that rewarded all of this criminal activity for our entire lives. You are just now witnessing the beginning of a new paradigm. Now, take a look at this. Walter Kurt, he's an investigative journalist. He discovered some pretty shocking stuff with regard to this Medicare fraud. Apparently, the federal government was just writing checks to anybody who was requesting them. Most of these agencies had zero verification of these businesses. Walter was able to confirm that a business entity that had previously been dissolved was still billing Medicaid at scale. In a single batch, he verified over $15 million in payments. This particular business, Sigma Home Care, was dissolved in 2011. But between 2020 and 2024, they still billed Medicaid for nearly $2 million. This is your taxpayer money paying businesses that have been dissolved for over a decade. And nobody was bothering to check. Elon Musk had previously spoken about this, the magic money printing machines. It was just heading out into the ether. And look at this. Who was the person who owned the company? Mudassir Hamid. And he dissolved Sigma Home Care back in 2011. But Mudassir was still receiving money. Well, we have yet to see exactly what's going to happen with this. But Walter, continuing to look at this, he's found over $50 million as he continues to look. Where do you think Walter is reporting this? Not just on Twitter. This is being sent to Scott Bessent and the Treasury at the Fraud Reporting Task Force. So, more to come. That's all I can say. It's coming out. All right. Now, thank you again to No Thanks Joe for the cookie. He says, hey, Zach, nice to have you back. I hope you had a great weekend. Looking forward to a new week of reporting. Thank you for your work. God bless. Stay safe. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you. All right. Let us continue. All right. Okay, so before we jump into the next story, I have another quick message from our friends over here on Rumble. You guys, if you still have not yet tried 1775 coffee, they have some of those starter kits available. They would love it if you gave them a shot. In those starter kits, you're going to get their bold dark roast, their smooth medium roast, and their vitality mushroom coffee that gives you clean energy and laser focus without the crash. It's all made from the highest quality beans, single batch, small origin, toxin and mold free. Plus, you're going to get their gold spoon clip and their very strong frother. And to boot, you're going to get their black 1775 tumbler. That is $170 worth of coffee and gear, and it's all yours for just $99. If you've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wonder if it's actually worth it, it truly is. And to find out for yourself, you got to go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab one of these starter kits before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. You can also use the QR code that you see on screen. Thank you very much to them. Also, thank you very much to Fungible Fanny, another birth citizenship scam. Foreign fathers impregnating American surrogate moms. Now one parent is an American citizen. Wheel Fungible Fanny thy Chinese men crazy. Is that actually happening? Are American women agreeing to be impregnated by foreign men? Are they getting paid for that? That's crazy. Principled Enigma says, bro, what's your gut feeling about whether or not we'll keep the majority in Congress? I think we will. I just go to vote straight Republican, and I do not vote for judges. They are supposed to be appointed. Yes, I believe that we are going to hold on to Congress. I think that part of the exposure op is like letting people know, why it's so important to stick with the party that's actually doing something about it. But I also think that the changes and fixes to the election system are pretty much going to be rolled out before the midterms even happen. All right, so the Department of Homeland Security right now is on 55 days without core funding. This is the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. And after their 2-week recess, Congress is returning as well. So the Democrats are still demanding that any annual Homeland Security appropriation bills, which would include ICE, Border Patrol, TSA, FEMA, the Coast Guard, and a couple of other agencies, must include a laundry list of restrictions on immigration enforcement. That is not going to happen. We've had several weeks of failed negotiations, but Republicans in Congress have now determined the only way they're ever going to get DHS funded without folding to the demands of Democrats is to strip ICE and border protection from the Homeland Security bill. Such legislation has already passed the Senate and just needs to get the House approval. It's on the president's desk. And Republicans then plan to use the party line budget reconciliation bill to shower immigration enforcement agencies with cash, and they're looking to have it funded for the rest of President Trump's time in office. The previous reconciliation bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill, gave each agency an over $70 billion funding boost that was separate from their annual appropriations money that Republicans are currently trying to push through. If they use budget reconciliation as the vehicle to provide annual appropriations, it's kind of risky. However, President Trump is asking for this legislation to be on his desk by June 1st. So Republicans would need to craft and pass a budget resolution that would be the blueprint for reconciliation before they can actually pass the bill itself. Senate Republicans basically are the ones who need to do this. Currently, over the weekend, they were working to get this done so that they could have it finished by the end of this week. besides passing that hybrid Homeland Security bill to end the DHS shutdown and get this funded for the rest of fiscal year 2026, House lawmakers are already jumping into 2027 funding resolution negotiations. Less than 6 months before the next fiscal year begins, and federal agencies already need a funding refresh. The White House sent Congress their $2.1 trillion budget request earlier. Lawmakers are then looking at also passing the Save America Act and getting some type of election reform on the books. Officials from the Department of Energy, Agriculture, Health and Human Services, and Homeland Security are all scheduled to appear before committees present with their own budget requests. And while these hearings are occurring, the House and Senate Democratic leaders plan to again force votes on resolutions that would try to halt the administration's ongoing military activities in Ukraine, which was never authorized by Congress because fuck them. Republicans in both the House and the Senate also voted down separate war powers resolutions in early March, so that's not going to go anywhere. But Democrats are hoping to continue to draw out the conflict's impacts on gas prices. They want the American people. Tony Gonzalez just retired. Ha 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 ha. Oh, I love it. So the Democrats lost one, the Republicans lost one, so it's a net zero across the board. Oh man, I love it. So the lawmakers across the political spectrum are still divided as well on the surveillance powers of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. That is what allows American intelligence agencies to conduct warrantless electronic surveillance on foreign nationals of suspicion. In practice, that sounds fine. However, they're not supposed to be siphoning up the data of American citizens, but it's quite obvious that that routinely happens all the time. The intelligence agencies store that data for up to 5 years, and they can then routinely search that data without obtaining a warrant. That's called a backdoor search. Republicans are concerned this violates Americans' Fourth Amendment rights. I fully agree that it does. And Republican leadership have already planned to vote on Wednesday whether or not to extend 702 without implementing any type of reforms or privacy protections. They're also fighting to get the passage of the voter ID bill, which is the Save America Act. And the avid supporters of the House-passed legislation, which has gone through on multiple occasions, would require Americans to present proof of citizenship in person when they register to vote. They say that this bill is crucial. I agree with them. And President Trump has urged Senate leaders to abolish the filibuster so they can get it passed with a simple majority vote. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says there isn't enough support. He is a cuck. So we'll see if something different happens. But apparently that's on the docket for this week. Adam Kinzinger just got exposed for male prostitution. Is that new? I thought that we already knew about Adam Kinzinger having a Grindr profile. Let me look this up. See if there's something new about this. I don't see anything new about this. But I knew about Adam Kinzinger having that Grindr profile. I reported on that a couple of years ago. Tony Gonzalez is the one who had the mistress who set herself on fire, allegedly. Yeah, I don't see anything new about Adam Kinzinger and gay sex or anything like that. Yeah, but he's a weirdo and he's not in Congress anymore, so I don't know. I don't think it matters all that much. Okay, now, I would like to report on an incident that took place. I mean, speaking about accountability, over the weekend, Savannah says on X, Savannah Hernandez, was reporting at an ICE facility in Minnesota. While she was there, she was assaulted by a family of Minnesota leftist crazies and a whole group of people outside the facility. Take a look at this right here. Now, that's Savannah's camera that is getting tossed around because she's being assaulted by that crazy woman with the whistle. And that's her mother.
Stop touching me!
And there she was shoved by the father. So right now, you can't see it because, but I'm going to show you what it looks like from other angles. You can clearly see from Savannah's camera that she's getting shoved all around by these crazy people. I'm not going to bury the lead. All of these people that assaulted Savannah Hernandez are currently under federal investigation. They're also being charged by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. That young woman who first shoved her was actually arrested by police on that same day. Her boyfriend was also arrested. Here is another view of the father coming up and shoving Savannah pretty violently.
Guys, it's over! It's over! Back the fuck up! It's over! It's documented! She'll get charged! It's over! Dude, we love you! We love you! We love you!
Okay, so in this second angle, you can see that Savannah was clearly assaulted from behind by that man, that adult man, Chris Ostroshenko. His daughter was the first one to assault Savannah Hernandez. She said when she woke up, she had a headache and a stiff neck. She was violently assaulted. All of these people are anti-ICE activists. And the mother can be seen in this picture right here. Paige is the daughter. Deanna is the mother. Chris is the father. And each and every one of them look like straight demons when you look at their faces. Totally obscenely disgusting people. Now, Paige, out of jail, boyfriend still in jail, is saying that she was assaulted by Savannah Hernandez, but that's not what happened at all. What's really sad is that all three people in this family also have another daughter who does not get along with this family. This young woman has come out to speak against the rest of her family, and she has said that obviously violence is never acceptable. So these people are known as Minnesota Angry Man. That's Chris, his wife Deanna, and then their daughter is Minnesota Angry Daughter. Now, the footage shows the entire family coming after Savannah Hernandez, swarming her, blasting those whistles in her ear. They wave dildos in her face, so maybe they'll be hit with some sort of sexual assault charge. The mother also demands to know what race Savannah Hernandez is. So there might be a hate crime component that could be brought up on a federal level. She was obviously slammed to the concrete while she was filming. She was conducting interviews. She was doing her job as a journalist. And, of course, she is pressing charges. Law enforcement has confirmed that charges are coming against all three of them. Paige, Deanna, and Chris are not going to get away with this. They are all going to be charged criminally. Now, Chris Ostrenko probably did the worst by shoving her from behind. When police did move in to arrest them, Paige tried to resist. She tried to run. Her boyfriend tried to stop them. And Adam Garcia is the boyfriend of Paige. He was arrested on probable cause for obstructing police. And Garcia's father was allegedly deported to Mexico. Here is the video of Paige kind of trying to rewrite the narrative, suggesting that she was actually assaulted by Savannah.
This is Emma Angry Daughter, also known as Paige Ostrowsko. And I was the girl that literally just got fucking assaulted by a fucking piece of shit Turning Point bitch. And first of all, her fucking ID is expired. 2023 is when it expired. And second of all, I got released. They're gonna like do investigation and all that for video, but I need everybody to send their video that they got of her assaulting me first. And then second of all, my boyfriend that was protecting me, Lorenzo Garcia, the one that was talking about his dad, yeah, they fucking took him for protecting me. I need everybody to get the word out to go to Hennepin County Jail and help him get out because he was assaulted man unlawfully arrested for no reason for protecting his girlfriend. Please send videos. Please get the word out. And thank you to everybody that's been.
All right. So here is the other daughter, Desiree Ostrushko. Don't really know how to say that, but she put a statement out on Facebook, and she said that she does not get along with her family. She does not stand with her family's violent rage. She said, I need to be very clear about where I stand. I do not align with my family's actions in this situation at all. I don't agree with what was done. I don't support it. I don't stand behind it in any way. Violence is never acceptable to me, no matter the circumstances, opinions, or political beliefs involved. What happened to Savannah was wrong, plain and simple. Everyone has a right to speak, to express themselves, and to be heard without fear of being attacked. That is something I will always stand on. I also want to be honest. If politics is going to turn into violence, hatred, or harming of other people, I will remove myself completely. I'm not going to be a part of that, even if it means creating distance from my own family. My values matter, and I refuse to compromise them. This isn't easy to say, but it's important. I believe in respect, accountability, and doing what's right, even if it's uncomfortable or painful. I stand for peace. I stand for people being able to use their voice safely, and I will always stand on that. I also want to add this for clarity. This isn't new for me. I haven't aligned with them or their behavior in years. I've seen and experienced enough firsthand to know the kind of actions they're capable of, and it's exactly why I've chosen to distance myself. What you're seeing now is not a reflection of me, my values, or the life I'm building. I stand against it, and I always have. She said in another statement, I'm his second daughter, and I've experienced firsthand how he's publicly and personally put me down simply because I don't align with their beliefs. That's a big part of why I've chosen to distance myself from them. Watching situations like this unfold only reinforces that decision. This behavior is not something I stand for, and it's honestly disappointing and disturbing. So it sounds like the father has a history of violence, certainly a history of verbal or audible comments that have been made after his daughter maybe did not decide to follow in his footsteps. Verbally abusive, some type of disgusting things he said about her in the past. Maybe even he's being physically abusive to her, not claiming that he has. Sounds like there is a history of abuse in this family in some respect. Really sad, really disturbing, and I can't wait to see what happens to the family. Now, here is the video of the boyfriend attempting to intervene to stop Paige from being arrested. She runs like a little bitch, and he gets arrested.
Leave her alone! Why are you grabbing her? Hey, she'll touch. Why are you grabbing her? Don't touch her. Don't touch her. Is she under arrest? She'll touch. Is she under arrest?
She was touched.
Hey, why are you grabbing her?
I'm under rights. I need to know my rights.
Why are you grabbing her? Back up. Hey, wait! Why are you grabbing her?
Run!
Run!
Fucking joke! This is it!
Lady,
Hold on. I just want to focus in on that shot right there. How beautiful is that? Got her around the neck. Here we go. Here we go, little girl. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
You're a monster! You're a glorified mall cop! Look at you! A fucking disgrace! You're a glorified mall cop! Leave them alone! That other girl instigated everything and punched her in the face! The other girl did everything!
The guy in the giraffe costume is the guy the Democrats had performing at the counter State of the Union event. Oh my God, that is so funny.
You're a fucking monster! Piece of shit!
I'm just gonna turn it down a little bit because it's so loud.
Punch everybody down!
I thought you just wanted to talk, motherfucker!
You're a piece of shit, unredeemable.
Spray them all in the face.
Leave her alone.
I thought you just wanted to talk!
Go do detail in a Panera Bread, you piece of shit.
I thought you just wanted to talk to her!
Did you just want to talk? Why don't you just talk to her? Why don't you get her side of the story?
I thought you just wanted to talk!
Hey!
I thought you just wanted to talk!
No, you just want to shoot bear mace because your wife will return your fucking emails.
Where's the de-escalation, you fucking piece of shit? Back off! Back off! Back off! Back you up, everybody! Back off there! Back off!
Nobody's close.
Back off!
You look like
Back off! You set your
Oh, they got sprayed. They got sprayed. Yes. Get him.
Back off! Back off!
Why don't you watch the videos before you
These officers said they just wanted to talk and now they're arresting her. They have no reason to be arresting her.
They have reason to be arrested. They have plenty of reason to be arrested. Both of them. Oh, gosh. Good Lord. You know who else assaulted Savannah Hernandez? William Scott Kelly, the woke farmer, the guy who's out on bail for his participation in the Minnesota church insurrection. He is also now going to be rearrested and charged for his participation in the assault of Savannah Hernandez. Harmeet Dillon at the Department of Justice was able to clue in on the videos, and it was put on her radar that he was one of those people who took part. And so his bail is likely to be revoked, and he will be probably held until trial. CK Felt says people have gotten away with this behavior towards police officers, and now we have a president who stops it. Yes, finally. Lee Walden says time to bring out the sticky foam and let traffic work it out. Let's see. Also, I need to say thank you to, where is it? Ghost Rider. Thank you for the cookie. Appreciate you, Ghost Rider. Thank you very much. All right. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the woke farmer. All right. Now, also, we have news coming out of a case that you may have heard about several months ago. A woman in Illinois had claimed that she was unlawfully arrested and taken to a detention center in Wisconsin. It turns out that everything she said was not true. You've seen this time and time again. Anti-ICE activists, they come forward with a fake story. Anything they can say to paint law enforcement as evil, as uncaring, as engaging in some type of unlawful activity. The Dodge County Sheriff, his name is Dale Schmidt. He's actually suing this Illinois woman. He's also suing a politician for defamation. The woman is the one who had this story about being transferred to Schmidt's jurisdiction in Wisconsin for an immigration hold, but it turns out none of it ever happened. Her name is Sundus Nakvi. She's 28. She's a U.S.-born citizen, and she got national attention last month after she and 5 traveling companions returned to the U.S. on March 5th from some type of a work trip. Now, she said that she was held by U.S. Customs and Border Protection at O'Hare International Airport for more than 30 hours. Then she was moved to U.S. Customs and Immigration Enforcement's facility in Broadview, Illinois. Then, allegedly, she was transferred to Dodge County Jail in Wisconsin. And then ultimately, she claimed she was released without any of her belongings in the middle of nowhere. Now, Cook County Commissioner Kevin Morrison affirmed her claims. He spoke with a local news agency at the time, and he said, "They have been lying from the very start of this. I don't think they want to own up to the fact that once again, they have illegally detained an American citizen without due process." So then this story was repeated unironically ad nauseum all across the internet, and it was used as an example to slander ICE and also this sheriff with accusations of indiscriminate arresting of American citizens. And you can see here the Times of India reported on it. Right here, U.S. citizen Sunny Naqvi detained by DHS for 43 hours because of curious travel history. Well, once people started looking into it, and of course the government was going to look into it, it became quite clear that none of this ever happened. The Department of Homeland Security and CBP ended up releasing photos and security footage which showed Naqvi entering a secondary inspection at O'Hare and then leaving the area shortly after of her own recognizance. DHS noted at the time, here are the receipts. As we said, Sunny Naqvi entered the CBP area at 10:21 a.m. Surveillance footage from O'Hare clearly shows her entering secondary inspection at 10:46, and then she left secondary inspection to join the public area at 11:42 a.m. So contrary to her claims of 43 hours, it appears that it was slightly less than 1 hour. Her claims of spending 43 hours in DHS custody are 100% false. And they brought the receipts. Here she is entering, here she is leaving. The passenger's claims are blatantly false. Naqvi entered O'Hare at 10:21 on March 5th. CBP officers referred her to secondary for additional inspection based on law enforcement checks, and they conducted a baggage exam, and then she departed within 90 minutes total. And here she is being covered by ABC7 Chicago, claiming that she was released after nearly 2 days. Sheriff Smith investigated Naqvi's claims, and he uncovered that hotel records show she checked into the Hampton Inn and Suites in Rosemont, Illinois, near the airport during the time of her alleged detention. Additionally, we've got that surveillance footage, and we've got other records that place her in Wisconsin with an acquaintance. Apparently, she went to a gas station nearby, so she couldn't have been in custody if she was visiting a gas station. Sheriff Smith also said she was never in the custody of Dodge County Sheriff, nor was she ever transported across state lines by authorities. It appears she did that all on her own. And his office has complied by showing evidence that you can actually view. On April 10th, as a result of these false claims, Sheriff Schmidt filed a $1 million defamation lawsuit against Naqvi and Morrison in federal court because they spread false claims that damaged he and his department's reputation. CBS News stated that Schmidt said, "I don't have any charges here in Dodge County to bring against her. My only recourse is to make sure she knows that she cannot do this publicly." Here is the media kit from the sheriff's office, and they dropped all of the footage of her publicly. They put her WhatsApp chats with a witness. They put all the pictures from her at the Hampton Inn. They've got a press conference from the Dodge County Sheriff's Office, and they've got a lot more. Let me go ahead and pull up this press conference. It's 47 minutes, so we're not going to watch the whole thing, but let's just listen to a moment.
That regarding an alleged detention, not only here at the Dodge County Sheriff's Office, but at Broadview Detention Center in Chicago, Illinois. They've gained significant attention, but they have not been supported by any verified evidence at all. Today we'll walk through the facts, the timeline, the evidence, so the public can clearly understand what actually occurred.
All right. Now, proving defamation against anybody is pretty difficult. You have to have proof of actual malice. I think this is going to be a different case because this woman has lied so egregiously. And based upon her own private conversations, we're probably going to find out that she knew exactly what she was doing. And she also understood ultimately what was going to happen, that it was going to reflect poorly on the people that she had implicated. Now, I saw Little Peachy says that Dodge County is corrupt. They may be, but so is this woman. So I don't care if she gets the sharp end of the stick. So good riddance to bad rubbish. All right, you guys, I just have one final message from our friends over here on Rumble. We're going to go through the final thank yous. And then we are going to kick it off for the day because I have to get some dinner and got to get ready for tonight's program. Hope you had a wonderful day, you guys. All right, you guys, banks are not your friends. They can cancel your accounts. They can freeze your cards. They can decide what you're allowed to buy, what you're allowed to say, who you're allowed to support. Big banks and financial institutions have got total control over you, and they use it. This is why financial independence matters right now more than ever. So introducing the Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet that's built for real freedom. Because with Rumble Wallet, you control your own money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. You can buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin all in one place without permission, middlemen, and no cancel button. So when you want to support creators you actually believe in, you can use that Rumble Wallet app to directly tip those creators securely, instantly, and without interference. It's not a credit line they can shut off because it's your wallet permanently to protect for the future and for your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the real difference between security and vulnerability. And Rumble Wallet is not about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today, download the Rumble Wallet now, and step away from the big banks for good, because true ownership, true protection, and true financial freedom is what you're going to get. You can use that QR code on screen. You can go to wallet.rumble.com or just go to the App Store on the device that you may be watching this on. Thank you so much to Rumble, and thank you so much to everyone here. All right, you guys. I'm going to have to try to figure out what is going on with OBS, why I can't hear anything. Like I said, there was just an update to my computer. There was an update to my soundboard, but there was no update to OBS. So maybe it's something with that. All right, you guys, let's see. Thank you to PQuest for the can. Thank you to Sloan TV for the cookie. And thank you to Filter Dog. Will Baseless Conspiracy be streamed on Pilled? There is some technical issue on the back end with us getting the shows to work on Badlands for Pilled. I don't have access to it. I've been trying to work with whoever is setting things up right now. Ultimately, the goal is to make sure that we have every show back on Pilled. When Brad left, there was something that went wrong on the back end. I don't exactly know what it is because, again, I don't have access to it. Hopefully tonight, Baseless Conspiracies will be on Pilled. If not tonight, then I'm hoping as soon as possible, everything will be back on there. And that's basically all that I know. But I can tell you that John knows that you guys want those shows on Pilled. John also wants all those shows on Pilled. I want all of those shows on Pilled. And it's my intention to keep working to make sure that they get back on Pilled. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. Hopes everybody had a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. If I met you at GART, I had a great time doing so. And hopefully I will see you guys at the next one. And if I don't see you tonight at 10:30 on Baseless Conspiracies, then hopefully you'll be back here with me tomorrow at 5 p.m. for another episode of Red Pill News Live. So, final thank you to Principled Enigma, Zach. God bless you and Lisa. Be safe, not what you do. Be safe, not what you do. I will be safe regardless of whatever. But thank you very much for the prayers to everybody. And I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Peace.